widely reported really as early as last night, but Sean Payton confirming that news this morning on his Monday conference call. And just, I mean, the worst, honestly. Jameis was having, I don't think, I mean, he wasn't, awesome, but Jameis was doing exactly what they needed him to do. Jameis was playing hard. Jameis was contributing to wins, and it was just the beginning of kind of the resurgence, the revitalization of his career, if you will. That was kind of the whole goal of him being in New Orleans, and it was happening before your very eyes, especially yesterday in the Superdome. Jameis was playing like a man possessed in that game. We kind of joked about it all week leading up to the game, like, oh, he's saying all the right things, that it's just another game. You could clearly see for him yesterday that it was not. And for him to go down in that fashion in that game is just a total bummer for Jameis personally, and I mean also for the Saints.
Yep, the sad thing is he never really got to play with the whole team, with the whole offense.
Yeah.
This was only the second game that Traquan Smith was back. It looked like they were finally developing a little chemistry. Traquan and Jameis, they connect for a touchdown pass a week after they were fighting on the sideline, and people saw it. And it's just really unfortunate because, as you said, he had been playing so well this season, culminating in this game. And when he went down, he was 6 of 10 passing, 56 yards, a touchdown, and he was also running all over the Buccaneers. Like we talked about before the show, scrambled 4 times for 40 yards, including a couple of key third down conversions, which he's been picking up a lot of those lately. And he had just been playing so well, but not even just his play on the field, man. Just see how everybody's talking about him right now. See how Sean Payton's talking about he saw him in the locker room and immediately broke down crying.
Right.
And not just his teammates, but also his former teammates on the Buccaneers side were really bummed out. And Bruce Arians talking to Sean Payton after the game, there's a clip where it looks like Bruce Arians is asking Sean Payton for an update on Jameis Winston, and it looks like Payton's response, you could see him mouth the words or the letters ACL, and then by Bruce Arians' reaction, you can kind of tell that is what it appears to be. So just a terrible situation. You feel terrible for Jameis Winston, but I would not bury the Saints season yet. They just got a whole lot of offense in this game against a really good defense, although they were banged up. And on defense, the Saints have arguably the best unit in the NFL. So still a lot to accomplish. All the goals are still in front of the Saints.
I'm not burying the Saints at all, Mario, and I guess that's kind of where we can take the conversation a little bit right now. Why would you? This is now just, again, a situation. I mean, they were in this situation last year.
And the year before.
And the year before. And they managed to win games with their defense and with running the football. The Saints ran for 152 yards yesterday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Against the Buccaneers.
I mean, now, it was a lot of different guys, but it was extremely effective. And they've done what they've done in 3 of the 4 meetings with Tom Brady and the Bucs, and that is just make his life miserable, force turnovers, and convert off of every single one of those turnovers. And it in some situations, it was, the likely suspects committing those, forcing those turnovers, and others, it wasn't. But we played the clips on the show, Mario. You listened to that defense, them talk all week, and you could tell they were confident. And it was one reason I had a feeling that the Saints were going to go get it done on Sunday. And whether it was DeMario Davis, quote tweeting Skip Bayless, which he followed that up yesterday, and it was phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, go to DeMario Davis's Twitter and look at it. The man just absolutely trolled Skip Bayless. Whether it was Cam Jordan, smirking in his media availability, talking about, pretty good feeling for Sunday. They just exuded this confident aura about them, and it showed why. I mean, they match up well against that offense for some reason, and they're able to really give them fits, and it happened again.
For the most part, that's the same group that was out there a couple weeks ago when they lost to Daniel Jones without his 2 top receivers. And they have clearly, Musso, a little bit of added juice against this particular opponent, like you're saying. Number one, because they've had success against Tom Brady, tangible success, statistical success that we've broken down and will continue to break down. But it's clear that right now, at least going forward, this is the rivalry. It was Saints-Falcons for the longest time, at least from the Saints fans' point of view. But there's a lot of bad blood, not just between the fan bases, but obviously between the players as well. A whole lot of extracurriculars, a whole lot of chirping, words being said, not just during the game and in between whistles, but after the game. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Leonard Fournette almost get in a fight. So the Saints just go full throttle on defense every time they play Tampa Bay. And like we said leading into this game, Musso, even if you include the playoff game, the Saints are 1-3 against Tom Brady since he joined the Tampa Bay or 3-1, 3-1 against Tom Brady since he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And really in all four of those games, the defense has played really well. We talked about the statistics leading into this one. The only reason they lost a playoff game was because the 4-0 turnover margin that Tampa Bay had. It wasn't because Tom Brady was slicing and dicing the Saints. And this stat that Jeff Duncan found is crazy. Okay, since Tom Brady joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 21 games in the 2020 and 2021 regular seasons. Tom Brady has thrown 10 interceptions in 839 attempts, one in every 83.9. In 3 games versus the Saints in that same span, Brady's thrown 7 interceptions in 114 attempts, one in every 16.2 throws. So he's thrown 10 interceptions since he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and 7 of them have been against the New Orleans Saints. So that is an unbelievable statistic. Tom Brady has been playing really well this season. Statistically, he has the numbers. We talk about him during Fantasy Football Thought of the Day all the time, but the Saints pick their spots, and he picks his spots as well. He definitely made his plays, but the Saints got those 2 huge interceptions. They got the sacks when they needed to, and they played him like they played him the first 3 times that they matched up. This group clearly has a lot of confidence against this particular opponent and this particular quarterback who happens to be the best of all time.
And they were able to withstand a punch, too. The Saints are up 23-7 in this game after the first drive of the second half. And look, I mean, you knew it wasn't over. You know, it wasn't over at that point. But they would go 3 and out, Bucs score. 3 and out, Bucs score. 3 and out, Bucs score. And you withstood their rally. You withstood them making a run. You end up taking the lead again. And credit to, look, we kind of talked about a lot of different things. We still haven't talked about Trevor Siemian. Credit to Trevor Siemian. Is he the future at that position for the Saints going forward the rest of the season? Probably not. It's going to be Taysom Hill most likely, but this is twice now you've seen this situation happen where, and Sean said it after the game, if Taysom was playing, it still would have been Trevor. Trevor was your number 2 for an in-game situation like this, just like Jameis was last year. And this is 2 years in a row now. You've seen that backup come in, be prepared, be ready to play like they were the starter. Was Trevor Siemian great? No. But was he good? Yeah, didn't turn the ball over. They threw the ball 29 times with Trevor Siemian. They were not going to change their game plan because he was in there. They knew they were going to have to throw the ball to win. They stayed ultra aggressive throughout the entirety of the game. He ends up throwing for over 150 yards, a touchdown, and most importantly, does not turn the ball over. It's the same thing you look at when you would talk about Jameis. The decision is more important than anything. You can live to fight another day. What did Sean Payton always say? Man, I got a bunch of plays over here. Just get me to the next play. Trevor Siemian did that very well and made some pretty clutch throws down the stretch of that game to help the Saints come back and take the lead when it was 29-27.
The third down throw to Callaway on the final drive to set the Saints up first and goal was awesome. And Trevor Siemian, like you said, 29 passes, completing 16 of them, and played really well. 159 yards, a touchdown, did not turn the ball over, which is key, as you said. And although wins and losses are not a quarterback stat on this show, I will point out that in his career, he has a lot of experience, and he's 13-12 as a starter. And you can tell the experience, Musso. A lot of people maybe would have hoped or thought earlier on in the season that it would be Ian Book taking over the reins in that situation, but clearly Sean Payton puts a value on having experience, and Trevor Siemian looked like he needed to break down. Where
to progress. Has missed 3 games off a concussion, so what type of schedule was he really on? But you would expect him. We kind of this one's a little bit different because it's a season-long injury now with Jameis, and it's not the temporary injuries like it was with Drew Brees where you knew he'd come back. But maybe that also actually kind of opens some doors for you to tailor the offense a little bit more towards Taysom Hill. Or, I mean, maybe if it is Trevor Siemian for a couple of games, I'm not sure. I assume it'll be Taysom. But as long as they have that defense, as long as they have the running game, and look, speaking of Taysom, that's just going to be another dimension to that running game. The Saints are a playoff team still.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, Taysom took a lot of reps with the ones. The offense is going to have to switch a little bit in terms of what you want to do and your philosophies, but he can run it. He has a lot of experience running it. And I'm sure the locker room believed more in Jameis Winston. Don't get me wrong. I think that they wanted him to be the starter, at least the players on the team. But I think they also believe in Taysom. And given the circumstances, I think that they believe that Taysom can step up and be a winning quarterback for this team. But like we already discussed, the reason why you and I, it seems like, both feel pretty good about the long-term prospects about the New Orleans Saints is because of their defense. Their defense, not just in this game, but if you take away that one little anomaly against the Giants and the Panthers game where they had a lot of guys banged up, they've been really good all season. And think about the weapons that Tampa Bay has. Mike Evans in this game, 2 receptions, 48 yards, had that big touchdown against Marshawn Lattimore, but just 4 targets. He got his, and Marshawn got his. That was a good battle. Marshawn Lattimore played a really good game. And then you look at some other players on this defense that deserve credit. Malcolm Jenkins. Oh, my goodness.
Malcolm Jenkins had a good day.
He is playing so well as you get. It's like fine wine. It seems like the older he gets, the better he plays because he played well last season. It seems like he's playing even better now.
The PBU he had against Gronkowski, the goal line early in that game was, I mean, that felt like just a massive play early on.
Yes, he owns Gronk in the series of since Tom Brady joined the Buccaneers, and I know Gronk had a couple of touchdown passes in the playoff game when they beat the Saints, but for the most part, Malcolm Jenkins has won that matchup, and he very much won it yesterday before Gronkowski went down with an injury. And then what can you say about P.J. Williams, a very underrated player in the secondary with all the big names that they have, but he's made a lot of plays this season, Musso. He had a sack fumble in the game against Carolina in the loss last year against Tampa Bay in the second game. In the blowout, he had an interception against Tom Brady, and obviously he had a big interception in this game. P.J. Williams makes the play of his career. I was on the call for the Spanish broadcast, and this is how it sounded in Español.
Tres receptores a la derecha, un receptor a la izquierda es Mike Evans, cubrido por Lattimore. Aquí está la jugada, Brady en la bolsa, con mucho tiempo, pase sobre el centro, interceptado, interceptado, 11, 20, yarda 15, sigue vivo 10, hasta las 5.
Might have to get a shut-up color guy. My boy Juan Carlos Ramos, shout out to him. But we returned, as you can see.
It felt like Janoris Jenkins in week 1 last year, securing the win over Tom Brady and the
Except
Bucs
it's a lot better with the full crowd on hand to see it.
It's a lot better with the full crowd on the hand. So the Saints will host the Falcons this Sunday in the Dome at noon. That line opened at 5.5. It's already up to 6 in favor of the black and gold. So a lot of people, not just us, still pretty confident in the Saints' ability, even without their starting quarterback. Touchdown favorites early on in the week over the Atlanta Falcons. We'll grab our first break, come back. Miles Brennan, LSU quarterback, has now entered the transfer portal. We'll react to that news, fantasy football thought of the day, and more. Still to come on Early Line, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Mario and Musso, the Early Line. We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown.
24/7 925-8552.
Don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR. Presented by Relief Windows, we'll recap Saints-Bucks, and it's LSU-Bama game week. We'll hear from Ed Ogeron. Join us for Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Early Line with Mario and Musso, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
He just came meet with me. He said, Coach, he was teary-eyed. It was a tough decision for him. He thought that he just needed to find a place that he felt that he can go play for 1 year and start. And obviously, I know he's not going to play this year. He's not ready. It was a tough decision. I think he and his family made it. I told him, I said, listen, hey, you hold your head high. You gave all you can to LSU. You graduated from LSU, and I wish him the best.
That's LSU head football coach Ed Ogeron. As Tigers quarterback Miles Brennan is planning to enter the transfer portal. That was confirmed on Monday to The Athletic, and we know Miles Brennan's story, Musso. We've talked about him at length on this show. Waited 3 years to get a shot at LSU. Got injured 3 games into his first year as a starter last season. Then before this season, while he's in a quarterback battle with Max Johnson to try to win the starting job, he breaks his arm before training camp. And in his LSU career, 20 games, he's completed 121 out of 201 passes, 1,712 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Those are solid numbers. Miles Brennan, it seems like the book on him is never really going to be written at LSU. We're never really going to know what he could have done with a larger sample size, because the sample size that's there tells you he's a pretty decent quarterback at worst. And you would think he's going to get another shot at another, if not Power 5 school, at least another school that's going to allow him to be successful and maybe give him a chance to continue on the next level, if that's still what he's trying to do. But you feel a little bad for kind of how things developed with Miles Brennan, but at the same time, this is something that's not surprising to either of us and felt kind of inevitable.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's not surprising to many at all. This is supposed to be the week that Miles was supposed to be able to come back, and you heard last week that just wasn't going to be in the cards, and that was kind of always thought anyway. Way back when this happened, it was, they're targeting Bama, but it probably more likely he just doesn't end up playing at all this year because of the injury. And you absolutely wish Miles Brennan the best. I mean, this is a guy who, in an era of the transfer portal, waited it out for a very long time. He waited and waited for his turn that just never really came. And it was just because of incidents like you described, whether it be the injury last year against Missouri or the injury before fall camp this year, or hell, even in 2018, Joe Burrow comes in and ends up as a transfer and takes the job, and Miles actually ends up getting hurt that year too. So it was just It's disappointing for him just because he did stick it out so long, and you root for guys like that. You want to see guys like that get their chance. It just wasn't in the cards for Myles Brennan. I think he is a really good quarterback who could go and have a really nice year somewhere in 2022, depending on where he lands, and could improve some teams' offense because of what you saw in week 1 through 3 for him last year before the injury at Missouri. He was getting better each week, just progressing each week, and you could see the upward trend that he was climbing, that he was on, and you were hoping that maybe that could carry over into this year. But again, injuries, man, and but now you hope that it carries on for him where he goes next.
Yeah, a big part of the fan base thought that he wasn't going to win the starting job from Max anyway, but I thought last season he honestly played really well. And in the Mississippi State game, he struggled a little bit. He was really timid, but you still saw the potential, and I thought he built on that. The next 2 games against Vanderbilt, I know it's Vanderbilt, and against Missouri, when LSU lost on the 4th and goal play, but he put up some really big numbers. It looked like he was improving from game to game, and with how bad the defense was and how kind of the program was in flux, I don't know if it would have made that much of a difference in terms of LSU's like long-term perspectives, but I think he is a solid quarterback. He showed that on the field when he got his shots to play at LSU, and I'm really curious to see where his career will end up or where he's going to go next. And one thing I will say, the last thing I'll say about Myles Brennan is waiting for the games to start inside of Tiger Stadium. Ever since he started throwing the ball, he still looks really good throwing the ball. And I know that it was his non-throwing arm that he got injured as well. So he has that going for him, and I'm sure he's going to get a lot of interest.
I'm sure he will. So, I mean, we'll monitor kind of guess where Myles Brennan goes from here. We know where LSU goes from here, Mario, and that is Tuscaloosa, Alabama, this Saturday night, 6 p.m. kickoff, Bryant-Denny Stadium. LSU better than a 4-touchdown underdog in this game right now. They are plus 1,600 on the money line. Not a lot of optimism surrounding LSU in this game, and that's understandable.
Yeah, we'll give our thoughts on what's likely to be a bloodbath in Tuscaloosa later on in the show, or later on in the week, I should say. But for now, from one depressing bit of news to the other, Musso, as we get to our fantasy football thought of the day, Derrick Henry is likely out for the season, or at least out for most of the season. There's a small chance he can come back a little bit later on, but this is going to be a significant injury to his foot. And this is the NFL's leading rusher. We're talking about 937 yards on the season, which is 353 more yards than any other player in the league. Also has 10 rushing touchdowns in 2021, which is first place in the NFL. The Titans are 6-2. They had been playing really well. Right now, they had the best record in the AFC after the Bengals dropped their game to the Jets yesterday. And you feel really bad for Derrick Henry, obviously, from his perspective. You know that's one of the best players in football, and you love seeing him play. But from a fantasy perspective, there are a lot of owners really, really upset with Derrick Henry likely being out for the season or being out for most of the season, including myself. I don't know what I'm going to do, Musa. Going to have to get creative with some trades here. Might have to trade Justin Jefferson or something.
The Titans don't know what they're going to do either.
Touche.
Well, they're going to sign Adrian Peterson. But, I mean, look, come on.
He's
washed.
Before we get to the AP news, he was signed by Tennessee today. They do have Jeremy McNichols, who's on his second season with this team. He's kind of been a journeyman player since he entered the league in 2017 out of Boise State. But one thing that's promising when it comes to Jeremy McNichols from a fantasy perspective is that his receiving skills have already been on display this year. Even with Derrick Henry in the lineup, he's caught 21 passes for 203 yards and a touchdown, and that's playing behind the best running back in the NFL. He's obviously not going to have anywhere near the same volume that Derrick Henry does, but now mixing in with Adrian Peterson, he's going to have some fantasy value. And from a fantasy perspective, you know, maybe your season's not over if you're a Derrick Henry owner because you can get creative. Maybe you can utilize McNichols or somebody else on the waiver wire. But getting back to the reality of football, it seems like the Titan season is over, and I feel really bad for Tennessee fans.
It's definitely not trending in the right direction, I'll tell you that much.
No, not at all. And like I said, that is really bad news. There was news all day about some potential trade targets for the Titans. However, it looks like they are going to bring in Adrian Peterson. They brought him in for a workout earlier today, but now he is signing with the team. And this is somebody, Musso, who's 34 years old, but he has been productive the last couple of seasons, including last year, ran for 604 yards and 7 touchdowns with the Detroit Lions. And over the past 3 years, age 34 to age 36 season, pretty solid numbers, 618 carries, 2,544 yards. That's 4.1 yards a carry, which is not bad, especially when you're 36 years old. Again, not anywhere near the same as Derrick Henry, but if you're the Titans offense, I guess you're hoping that Tannehill can step up in the passing game, and the mix of now McNichols and Adrian Peterson can at least give you enough in the rushing game.
There's some good running backs out there that you can get in fantasy, though, still.
Yes.
Just got to find them.
Just got to find them.
Don't tank your season yet.
No, like I said, got to get creative, but sure, that's a big blow to the stomach, man. If you're a Derrick Henry owner, he's carrying people. And like I told you before, man, it seemed like he was kind of peaking a little bit early because he led the NFL in rushing last year, yes, but from a fantasy perspective, he's on pace to do even better. He was going to crush the record, and they were utilizing him as a receiver this year. So this is just a blow. I was in such a good mood with the Saints winning, and Denham Springs got a big win on Friday, a game that I broadcasted, which I told you about. But hearing that news in the morning again, from his perspective, terrible for Derrick Henry, one of the most fun players to watch in the entire NFL. But if you're a Derrick Henry owner, definitely a big punch in the stomach for you today. And if you're a Tennessee Titans fan, an even more painful punch to the stomach.
But we press on.
We press onwards, and we press onwards in this show. Coming up next, we'll give you a recap of the betting weekend. Also, some huge news in terms of betting being legalized in Louisiana, at least in person. We'll tell you more on the other side of this break. This is The Early Line on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Early Line with Mario and Russo. 104.5 ESPN. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rufino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of...
The state licensing board for... Nationally recognized. Over 756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening. with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the truck.
It's week 10 in the prep football season, and we get started Friday with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, at 6 p.m. And we'll wrap up the night at 10 with a full 2 hours of the Lake Urgent Care Lake After Hours Louisiana Prep School Board Show on Your View, YouTube, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.